Good afternoon. We welcome you to the Casey Aquatic Center on campus at NC State here in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's an in-state matchup, a rivalry matchup between two top 25 programs, the NC State Wolfpack and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Sanders. I'm joined today by Christopher Reed. We are excited to bring you college swimming. This is the second duel of the season between the Wolfpack and the Tar Heels. NC State ranked 6th on the men's side, 4th on the women's side. North Carolina 20th on the men's, 18th on the women's side. We'll pause for the national anthem. An exciting scene here inside the Casey Aquatic Center as we are just about set for this duel to begin. As I mentioned earlier, these programs met earlier this season, back on November 6th and 7th, the Wolfpack sweeping on both the men's and women's side. Andrew Sanders here with Christopher Reed. Very excited to have you on the broadcast as well. A one-time Olympian and already having qualified for yet another. So what are you looking forward to most here, Christopher, as these two teams are right about in the middle of their season?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I'm happy to be here, but I'm really excited about just seeing how these two teams are handling this big break and coming off this hard training block now.
We begin with the women's 200 medley relay. Always fun to start with a relay. There's such great energy in the pool. Yeah, and I mean, you know, I swam in college too, and honestly what often would make or break the meet for us was the medley relay at the beginning. You know, if it was a big rivalry and we ended up winning that relay, it just set the motion, you know, the energy for the meet for the rest of the team. So, you know, it looks right now that NC State has a really good lead. Yeah, Catherine Burkhoff leading off nicely for the Wolfpack. Sophie Hansen in the pool right now for the A relay squad. They're in lane 6. Over in lane 8 for North Carolina, Allie Ryder just about to touch the wall, just behind Sophie Hansen.
That was a great relay exchange by NC State.
Serena Rowe, the senior, in lane 6, leading the way just ahead of North Carolina's Sophie Lindner. As we come to the final exchange, Kylie Alon's in the water for the Wolfpack. One of the best freestylers in the country, looking to put this one away. .137.96 as NC State takes first, North Carolina second, and North Carolina's B relay team in lane 4 taking third. So both programs, I think, a little bit to feel good about there. NC State winning and North Carolina finishing second and third.
Yeah, I mean, I think based off the last meet, you know, I think it's going to be very interesting for each team because they, you know, in the last meet, the NC State women walked away with victorious. But I think if you're UNC's coaches now, you're looking at, okay, how did we do last time? And, you know, how can we fix those holes? How can we, you know, I think a strategy too is, you know, if we had better swimmers, if we were UNC and we had better swimmers, but we knew we were going to lose the relay, we might save them up for their main races so they could get that win, you know. So I think UNC is in a great position for this dual meet because, you know, NC State's got a target on their back.
Yeah, NC State women back on November 6th, winning it 224 to 167. The men's side much closer, 212.5 to 201.5. This is an exhibition relay here, just NC State swimming. Danica Huizinga swimming leadoff here.
And that was just some great underwater kicking by Danica right there. I mean, utilizing those walls, going 15 off both. I mean, that's just great. Great setup.
Little different, obviously, swimming in an exhibition. You don't have anybody that you're necessarily competing with, but certainly it's very valuable for those swimmers.
I mean, most likely. I mean, when you're swimming by yourself, you have to rely solely on your race strategy, right? And, you know, I was guilty often in college of throwing out my race execution because I was racing against some really good guys instead of following my race plan, what I've been training. So I think for these ladies here that are busy doing this exhibition, I think it's going to be a great indicator of where they are and how they follow their strategy and not getting caught up in their emotions, but actually have a good, honest takeaway of, okay, where am I at in the season right now?
Abby Aarons touches the wall. This is Victoria Fonville. NC State's women's program up to number 4 in the country, up 3 spots in the latest poll. Final time 1:41.48 for that exhibition heat. As we get set for the men's 200 medley relay. This is an event that the NC State men own the ACC record, 122.37, set back in 2019. Stewart, Graber, Crestani, and Ress with that ACC record.
And I mean, that team, I mean, just with that, those guys on that team, I mean, what a great team. I mean, some of the greatest swimmers there's ever been in short course yard swimming. High standard, it's quite nice, I think.
Yes.
Knowing that you've come from a program that's had guys like that before.
Wolfpack men owning many ACC records as they've won the ACC title now 6 seasons in a row. Lanes to watch in this one. A relay for NC State, lane 6. Giovanni Izzo to lead off for North Carolina. In lane 8, it's Tucker Burhans. North Carolina also in lane 4, Alex Mays, the sophomore. And in lane 2, Thomas Hamlet of NC State leading off. But it's Izzo, Cousteau, Soboleski, and Hunter Tapp, the A relay for NC State.
Some great exchanges over there. I think just another thing to look out for on the backstroke later in the program is, you know, we saw Izzo from NC State just pulling away on those underwater kicking because his rate was just so much faster than everyone else's in the field. And I think as a competitor, you need to look at that, you know, because it's easy one place for us to rest, but another place to not rest and get that gain and that advantage.
Luke Soboleski, the senior. Boyd Polka of North Carolina. Wolfpack with a slight lead in lane 6. And now
a very close relay here between NC State and North Carolina.
Going to be a frenzied finish. Final turn.
What a great turn by North Carolina there, coming back. Is it enough, though?
26.97. Tapp touches first. North Carolina taking second and third. 127.41 for the top relay for North Carolina. Jack Messenger, as you noted, had a nice turn there at the end. There is also, an exhibition heat here for NC State. Owen Hanna, Cameron Karkoska, Erge Gesmes, and Noah Henderson for the Wolfpack.
And just to have a good reminder of how these guys are swimming right now, the winning time of 126.97. The NC2A B and A qualifying standards is a 124.97 and a 124.3. So considering that those are the times they need to go to the NC2A championship, I think those are both from both State and Carolina. Very good swims.
And you always have to manage expectations at this time of the year. For those that don't know, obviously you can't peak all year round. You are aiming to peak for those NCAA championships. So as long as you're somewhere around those qualifying numbers right now, you'll be pleased with it.
Yeah, and I mean, right now here again, we're seeing another exhibition. And for many teams, you know, every dual meet does matter, but for some dual meets, we're trying out new things. Let's see how so-and-so, who usually does a 200 back, let's see how they do in the 500 free. Or, you know, it's coaches seeing where they can, you know, fill some holes in the championship roster. And, you know, right now, you know, I guarantee some of these swimmers here on State are probably swimming off main events. Just because, okay, how do they do? How's their training been going on? Maybe whoever's now in this position can fill the spot at championship, or at least be, you know, at the NC2As, someone that will swim in the morning, rest up the main guy, so that the team will swim fast in the evening.
It is certainly interesting at this part of the year. A lot of coaching decisions to be made, and these two programs have two outstanding coaches. NC State, led by Braden Holloway in his 10th season. 7 times the ACC Men's Coach of the Year, including the last 6 in a row, and why not when he's won the last 6 ACC championships. Obviously, on the women's side, ranked number 4 in the country, and winning ACC championships as well, although falling just short to Virginia last year. What can you tell me about Coach Holloway and what has made him so successful here at NC State?
I mean, he's done such a great work here. From where the program was when he first came here, I think the biggest attribute about Braden is his consistency and his character. The man has his values, he has his fundamentals, and he doesn't budge or move off them. He knows what he has to do for his program, and a lot of people respect him for that. You know, he treats you fairly, and a lot of people respect him for that. And honestly, you know, something that I had to do with when I was competing is, if I didn't really respect my coach, I really struggled to train underneath them.
Okay.
So when you have a whole bunch of swimmers that not only trust but respect their coach, you know, it's just that it's just another attribute to be like, you know what, I can train even harder now, you know, and I can trust that I'm going to get better underneath those guys' training.
I want to talk to you more about that training here coming up. But first, I want to introduce the women's 1,000 free here. We have 4 swimmers, 3 for NC State. Kay Foley in lane 3, Yara Hireth in lane 5, and Kate Moore in lane 7 for North Carolina. Addison Smith is in lane 6. And obviously, this is a much different event than the one we just saw, the 200 medley relay. I know that obviously you're an extremely talented swimmer, being an Olympian, and I know that backstroke is obviously your main forte, but have experience with everything. But long distance is a little bit different. Can you kind of describe to me what goes into being a successful long distance swimmer like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest part of this, it's just being a tough person. You know, you often find the distance swimmers are just, they have that next cutting edge and tough mentality. You know, because here at the same thing, I mean, a lot of these guys that are in the 1,000 now, they most likely are going to be in the 200 butterfly or the 400 IM or the 200 IM. You know, all the, I'm sad to say it, all the events no one wants to swim, they need, you know, and it's not just because no one wants to swim and they're feeling that, but because those traditionally hard events have some great people like we have in the 1,000 here that are willing to step up for their team and try and get the win, right? Because the dual meet season versus the championship season are completely different. I mean,
how so?
You know, we had, for instance, when I raced, and for many teams, my racing schedule during the season was completely different to the championship season. You know, in the championship season, they really needed me on my backstroke events, but in season, they needed me for my freestyle. You know, because I was able to do that, and I think for, you know, you have a lot of different guys here in season now too. You know, I think someone like Catherine Burkhoff, who is one of the best backstrokers in the nation right now. She's actually the best in the 100-meter backstroke.
Right.
But she puts together a phenomenal 500 freestyle. And a lot of people underlook that. And, you know, again, it's when we have such a talented class and then they leave and you have all these spots to be filled, that's when the coaches have to start getting creative and like, okay, how do we fill this? You know,
it becomes problem solving.
Yeah, and that's when people start being honest with themselves, and you know, in a way, it's taking one for the team, but it's not a bad thing. You know, it's a good thing, taking one for the team.
But like you said, you have to be tough because this is a race that is going to be right around 10 minutes, just under. Hireth with the top time for NC State this year, 9:44.44.
And I mean, I think it's just a great race too because, you know, of all the races that I like watching, my favorite one is the 1500 or the mile.
Really?
Yeah. It takes a long time, but you will see so much changes of race strategy. You'll see right now we see there in lane 7, she's in the lead, but you know, at the Olympic Games, the person that's out first at the 100 or out first at the 400, they sometimes never really win it. And you see a lot of strategy. It's the most strategic event, I believe, in the Olympic Games. And particularly here in college swimming, because another fact that we have to think about is the turns. I mean, we'll see in lane 7 there, they have some really tight turns, but some of the people that are falling behind, they're not hitting those turns as tightly. They're a little bigger on the turns, catching more water, and they may be swimming the exact same speed in the water as the leading person, but because of those small details that they are just, you know, not quite hitting, they're going back, because really the sport of swimming is all about those small things, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think, again, of the small things, we see it the most in a 50-meter freestyle. Now, if we just add 30 more lengths, we see the extreme impact of it.
Right. It is Kate Moore in lane 7. And that's a great point you bring up, and why not? Of course, it's a much longer race. There is a lot more strategy. Did you go out too fast? Do you have enough left in the tank to close? Kate Moore in the lead. It is Hireth in lane 5 in second. All 3 NC State swimmers in podium position right now. Kay Foley in lane 3. So we spoke briefly about Coach Holloway. North Carolina also with an excellent head coach. Mark Gangloff now in his 2nd season, hired in May of 2019. A 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And you talk about respecting your coach and their opinions. Obviously, as an Olympian yourself, I feel like that would be a pretty easy person to take some advice from, as someone that says that has been where you want to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never met the man, but in seeing him at, you know, because his previous position, he was at the University of Missouri, and I swam in the SEC. So I've seen his coaching firsthand. I've seen his swimmers. You know, and all the swimmers that have swum with him hugely respect the man. I mean, I think he's just another great example of someone that is fair and that is very true and honest with his swimmers. But I mean, you know, Coach Mark has just taken over the UNC head coach position, and we are seeing a surge. I mean, last time these 2 teams met, North Carolina, you know, brought the game to NC State, and it was nearly a huge upset. And I think that is just a testament of the type of culture and work that Coach Gangloff is bringing to UNC, and I think is starting to turn things around. And I think for not only just for the university team, I think having two great university teams in the state of North Carolina is going to do a phenomenal impact or difference for just the state of Carolina swimming. And if you have two high-power, Power 10 universities in state, that's going to raise the swimming level just with the younger kids.
No doubt.
So I think hiring Coach Gangloff at UNC is the best thing that could have happened here. Now, if you're NC State, I don't think they would think it's the best thing, because now it's, oh wow, our competitors are getting better. But overall, I think it's going to help everyone.
Yeah, NC State has been dominant in this series history as of late. They have swept 6 in a row over the Tar Heels. But as you noted, back on November 7th, the men for NC State eked out a 212.5 to a 201.5 victory. And Coach Gangloff said afterwards, he said, we were racing one of the best teams in the country and almost peaked out a win. Fell a little short at the end, but for us, it's a big growth moment for our program to be as competitive as we were today and to win as many races as we did. And a big reason why they were able to be so competitive, he said, is that he felt like he just has a much more well-rounded team. And that's the thing in the duel. You could have a swimmer like the guy to my right here, Christopher Reed, and have one superstar. That's not going to cut it in a duel. You have to have a well-rounded team. You have to be competitive in each event, and North Carolina was much more competitive in those events. And Coach Gangloff said, last year there were events we were weakened, but this year I think that we're really solid in every single event, which allows us to be competitive.
Yeah, and I think, like we said earlier, North Carolina has the upper hand in this dual meet, I very much believe, because they're now looking at that past meet that they did, and they said, okay, where and how can we beat NC State? And who knows, they may have been training to beat NC State in those particular events, and structuring a team, seeing how NC State does their lineup, who they save, who they don't save. Okay, right now we're seeing in the distance that we have one North Carolina swimmer. Why is that? Is Coach Gangloff resting some of the key swimmers that he needs for the other freestyle events? Who's to say? But I think another praise that we need to give is to Coach Holloway. And I think Coach Gangloff is doing a great thing. Is seeing the top of the coach is looking at the combined programs. Traditionally, the Wolfpack women haven't been the greatest. They've been okay. And of recent years, since Coach Holloway has come here, he's just grown them and developed them. And now, they're a top 10 team. Having 2 teams in the top 10 in the nation. That's not just by chance. Let me tell you.
Certainly not. Certainly not. It is Kate Moore in lane 7, 9:55.05 for Moore. In lane 5, the freshman, Yara Hyrath, finishing in 9:58.46. So as I said, we expected this to be about a 10-minute race, just under for Moore, and Hyrath Foley finishes in 10:05.9.
And we just want to remind as well that although we just did this in a dual meet, we do not actually have the 1,000-yard freestyle at championship meets.
Yeah.
So usually at the meets, the championship meets, we're doing the 500 freestyle and the mile. So there are no NC2A qualifying standards in the 1,000-meter freestyle. And I think it's a quite interesting race because with both teams we have milers who for a lot of them they'll do 5Ks open water swimming, and then we'll have the people that do the 200 freestyle or the 500 freestyle. And when we look at this event particularly, it's like, okay, are we going to have guys swimming up what they usually swim? The 200 and the 500 freestylers, are they going to swim up to 1,000?
Right.
Or we're going to have the milers do their equivalent of the 50-meter freestyle and sprint.
Either way, it's a very tricky event for anyone because it pushes you a little bit outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're going to see in this race now too, which we see with the girls, is if we're looking at everyone's kick on the screen, we can see who and how they're applying themselves in the race. Those people that are having just a very small and steady kick, but not a lot of white water on the back, they most likely are floating a lot better, conserving the energy. But if we're looking, I mean, as we see in lane 7, his kick's a lot faster. There's a lot more white water. He's pressing it. He's really pushing it. And again, we're talking about the difference in strategies. I mean, we look at lane 8. He's just kind of cruising, very soft on the legs, right? What's his strategy? And even in these longer events, we may see some people moving over from the center of the lane rope to the side of the lane rope because we're swimming now for 10 minutes. If I can draft and get, you know, the draft of the water that my competitor's doing ahead of me, if I can just relax and, you know, wait in that, and then with the last of the race go, why not? I mean,
you'll take that draft. You'll take every little bit you can get.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everyone is going to remember this race, the race of Jason Lezak in 2008. For 50 meters, he just sat on the lane rope on Alain Bernard, and in the last 25 meters, he's like, oh, I guess I'm going, and he won the race, right?
Right.
And now that isn't a very extreme example, but, you know, and there's also strategy in it. I mean, we see in lane 7, he's now moved over to the right side of the lane rope, and he's trying to get away from the person in lane 5 because obviously that is his main competitor. He doesn't want to help him at all. And, you know, there's a lot of strategy in it.
That is Ross Dant of NC State, the sophomore in lane 7 for North Carolina. Demetrios Demetriou, senior in lane 6. This is an event, NC State owning the ACC record. That's Anton Ibsen's record from back in 2018, 844.26, the ACC record. That is also the school record, obviously, here at NC State. This year, the fastest time for the Wolfpack in this event, Eric Knowles, swimming it in 8:56. And North Carolina has not recorded any times at this event this year. And that's something you said earlier, obviously, at the NCAAs, this is not an event. So what's the idea for the coaches to choose and decide to have this event here in a duel? I know you said people are either having to swim up or swim down.
Yeah.
What's the benefit?
I think it's a lot of versatility.
Okay.
You know, now it's hard to say and looking at the people, but, you know, again, it's an off event. We need the points right now. And as the coach says, who's going to do the best job? Because ultimately, this time of the year, we're in the middle of January. We have ACCs in 4 or 5 weeks from now. This meet right now, coaches are going to be looking at this of, okay, who is actually putting themselves out of the team? Who's got that strong mental? Who is actually putting their body on the line? And they're going to start looking at roster spots. So I think off events like this for someone is going to be a great indicator of where they're at. Yeah, and see how we can move forward as a team.
You mentioned being strong mentally, and that is, of course, one of the most important, the most vital things to being an effective and a successful swimmer. And this is obviously a season in which every athlete, regardless of sport, has had to be strong mentally as the coronavirus has affected all sports. How has that changed things this year for college swimmers? And I'd love to hear also from your perspective as well as someone who has qualified for the Olympics and how it has changed things for you and how you've kept that strong mentality or maybe sometimes struggled with it.
I think the mentality is a lot easier if you're on a team, you know, coming in every day, even if you don't have prospects of your meets or you're not racing as much, just being surrounded with your teammates, you know, the camaraderie, the pushing every single day, having those teammates with you helps. But I know for a lot of people, it has been a very tough year in the pool, just because it's like, well, what are we training for? Are we training for a meet that's not going to happen? Are we just training to get better? You know, because, you know, at the same time we're talking about mentality, a lot of people can just say, oh, well, there's probably not going to be a championship season, so we're just going to do our barest minimum this year and focus on our studies. Well, guess what? There's going to be a championship season the following year too. And are we just gonna, stagnate this year, or are we gonna grow? I think NC State, who has just been on this great avalanche of success, just keep getting better and bigger. I think that's something that they may be in danger of. Are we content where we're staying, or are we going to take this year and use it to our benefit and get better?
Obviously threw a wrench in everyone's plans, and a lot of swimmers back in March didn't get to compete as they were expecting, especially for your senior year. It's obviously really tough when you expect to go out and swim the best you've ever swam at NCAAs. That's what you're building towards, and then to not have that. And from your perspective as well, getting ready for the Olympics, you trained so hard to peak at that 4th year, and this will be your 2nd Olympics. So you've gone through the experience before in a normal setting. How much different is that for you now as you prepare for something that obviously we hope to have the Olympics now this summer pushed back a year, but unfortunately that might not even be a guarantee.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about mental, but also, mental health, but also talking about emotional health now too. How are people managing their emotions? I mean, we see it a lot in dual meets, but also in championship seasons. Earlier when we were talking, I was talking about the emotional preparation for the championship season or for the Olympic Games, and, where emotionally we kind of build up for those meets, and then when it doesn't happen or we don't go, we not only we're exhausted, but we have that disappointment. And I think for a lot of swimmers, I mean, we've been just seeing a surge in better swimming performance this year than there's ever been. Why? Because people didn't get to have the Olympic trials or the Olympics, so they were left hungry, and they just didn't give up in that aspect, and it fed, and they continued to build on. And I think, added with the active physical recovery, I think, we have 2 groups of people that are just come out even mentally stronger, and people that have gotten a little worse. Now that's something we can all work on, but I think particularly right now, I think also for this race, this is a 10-minute long race. A lot of guys, I remember watching in college, they don't know how to manage their emotions, so they come up to this race and they just blow it out of the gates and sprint the first length. Well, guess what? You have 9 minutes left after sprinting for a minute, right? And that not saying that's bad, but it'll come with experience, right? We have Ross Dan here, who's a sophomore. As well as he's doing right now, he's got 2 more years. And he's got a lot to learn in 2 more years. And, he's going to learn how to not only train better, but to learn how to manage his emotions. I think when you talk to swimmers when they go to big meets, a lot of them will often talk about, this is what I learned from this meet. Or, when you hear people getting interviewed when they've gone to big meets internationally, they often say, I've learned so much, but they never expand on that learning out. And through experience, what I've experienced is, in learning, it's not really learning the different skills, but I've learned how to manage my emotions, learned how to manage the stress, or, learned what to eat. And then we learn at all the smaller details of, this is what I should or shouldn't do on meet day.
Dan finishing first, 9:04.4. In second in lane 5, James Plage. And third in lane 3, Owen Lloyd. So it's a Wolfpack sweep for the men's in the 1,000 free. And not really a huge surprise. Again, this is North Carolina hadn't swam this event yet this season, but also NC State in the longer distances, they have been so good in recent years.
And I mean, I think that is just a testament of the kind of coaching staff that Coach Holloway's brought to NC State. I mean, we had Gary Hall when he first got here, but now we have Mark Bernardino, and that man's just a legend in the sport. I mean, has had tremendous success wherever he's gone with distance swimmers. And, we're talking about your arsenal of coaching, all these weapons. I mean, we saw NC State lose a very key component of the coaching staff this past season, their sprint coach, and now it left NC State without a sprint coach. Now, I believe they've added another great, valuable coach, Brian Barnes. You know, and now again, they have to learn how to have that dynamic, but also Coach Barnes needs to learn and contribute to this already succeeding culture that Coach Holloway has.
Our fifth event today, the women's 200 freestyle. Julia Poole of NC State is in lane 7. Kate Moore not swimming this event today. She has the top time this season for NC State, but Julia Poole's 147.44 is good enough for 5th in the ACC in this event. It should be a very close one. Amy Draglin of North Carolina has swam this in 147.48, so just 400th difference between their top times. Draglin is in lane 6, so keep an eye. 7th, Julia Poole, and lane 6 is Draglin. Those should be the top 2 in this event.
And I mean, we were earlier talking about the strategy that the coaches have, leaving certain people out of the events. I mean, we just saw the 1,000 freestyle, and we were talking about earlier having people from the 200 or the 500 freestyle swimming up. And I mean, I think a very clear example is here's Draglin. I mean, she is having a great swim. She's building on her rates. Look at that kick. She's picking up. She's catching Poole. I mean, we're talking about strategy. You know, the 200 freestyle is the equivalent to a 400 meter on the track. It is not a easy stroll. It's not a, you know, this is a full-out sprint. For, you know, 1 minute and 40 seconds, you are sprinting your heart out.
Poole and Draglin. It'll be Poole just out touching in lane 7, 149.7, 150.11 for Draglin to finish 2nd. And how about in lane 3, McKaylee Goldblum, freshman for NC State, finishes 3rd. And there will be an exhibition here, heat 2. Abby Pilkington, a freshman for NC State. And I would imagine it can be a little intimidating when you're swimming one of these just by yourself. You just have to maintain your focus and swim your race, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, swimming your own race, but at the same time, you're by yourself. All eyes on you.
Sure.
But at the same time, you know, all eyes on you. It's an opportunity of
to show something.
Let me show people how good I am. You know,
and that's kind of the mentality that you have to have, right? I mean, you don't become a swimmer of your level without having the mentality that you're better than the other people in the pool, right?
Yeah, and you know, right now we're watching another exhibition. You know, most coaches right now have a kind of a first draft of the championship season, and when we're having, you know, these exhibition meets or swims at our home pools, these are the people that didn't make the travel roster. So these exhibitions are actually very, very important because, you know, I could have that attitude of, you know, I didn't make the team, I'm not going to try, I'm not going to care. But no, you have to have the opposite, right? It's, okay, I'm trying to earn my spot for that team. You know, the coach is not just going to give it. And especially, I think, when we have two great teams like UNC and NC State, right? There's no free spots in the sport right now.
Surely
particularly
not.
on these teams, right? You got to earn it. And I think, again, just having these two great teams and having Coach Mark Goingloff coming here, you know, although it's a threat to the dynasty that Coach Holloway's created here, you know, I was always taught and told competitiveness makes you better, right? It's this competitiveness is now making and pressing NC State. What do we have to do to get even better?
Right. Pilkington finishes her exhibition swim 155.48. And we'll see the men's 200 free now.
One thing I want to say while we're watching the men now diving in is I want everyone to look at the rate of how fast these guys are moving the arms during the race, because as again we have the strategy. What you'll most like to see is a lot of people are going to build their rate on their legs. And what's very important in swimming is once your legs start going in the sport, you don't have much time until everything else starts shutting down. So like a race, like the 200 meter freestyle, you have to find that interesting dynamic of, you know, burning your legs at the front end or conserving them, right? Because let me tell you that last 50, that last length, it feels like an eternity, because if your body is locked up and you can't swim, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, this should be a good one. NC State actually has 3 student athletes with top 4 ACC times this year, and 4 athletes that have already put in an ACC B time this year. Luke Miller leading the way, second best in the ACC. 133.83 is what he's swam this event in so far this year. But Ross Dant, who has the 3rd best time in the ACC, Hunter Tapp, who has the 4th best time, not swimming in this event today. Neither is Zach Brown, who, while he doesn't have a top 5 ACC time, he's still already made the B cut for the ACC. So it's Miller in lane 5 of NC State. You would think he would be the favorite in this one, but keep an eye on a couple of North Carolina swimmers. In lane 6, it's Tomas Sangaila. He's made the B cut this year in 134.7, and Demetrios Demetrio in 135.9. He is in lane 4. So it's Miller in lane 5, and the 2 sandwiching him right there in the middle of the pool, as this should be a pretty close race.
And I want you guys to have a look too. We're going to see a tendency with going on in this pool is everyone that's going to be in from lane 5 through 8 always going to be most likely in the lead, because as you can see on the screen, we have a really shallow end, the water's really shallow, and then it gets a lot deeper. So there's a strategy involved even at the venue right now. Is we want to have the fastest swimmers in the deeper water. We want them to be in that deeper water, try to get them away from the turbulence of the pool, right? And then even now in the backstroke, we're going to have the backstroke next. We have a shallow pool. You know, there's a tendency, if you're in lane 1,
it's tough.
You're going to hit the ground. And let me tell you, when you hit the ground, you're not going anywhere other than in the ground. There's a lot of strategy in that too. Is, you know, do you want the fastest swimmer to be in the middle of the pack, or do you want them to be on the outside? No one sees them, they sneak by, get that win.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of strategy in that too, because
Luke Miller wins this event 137.34. So again, not the top time that he swam this year, but certainly good enough. And then we didn't mention Eric Knowles, who's obviously a fantastic swimmer for NC State, and we will see him quite a bit later. Knowles in lane 7 actually finished 2nd there. And it was actually Daniel Konigsberger of North Carolina in lane 8 who finished 3rd. Now this is a pretty good event for you here, partner, the 100 back. What are your thoughts on this event?
Well, it is probably, 100 backstroke, I'd say, the 2nd hardest event. And honestly, it's the most frustrating event if you're a really good swimmer but not a great underwater kicker. As you'll see, we have lane 7 and 8 there. They're kicking out way past halfway. You know, they're going to spend a majority of their time. Most backstrokers spend about 75% of the race underwater. You just see them pulling away. There's not much swimming down here. It's all kicking. And, when you're holding your breath for 75% of the race and trying to swim on top, it makes it even harder.
No surprise here. Catherine Burkhoff in lane 7. The super sophomore gets the win in 53.27. She has put together, as you mentioned earlier, the top time in the NCAA so far this year in 50.4. So once again, we're not expecting to necessarily see record-breaking times at this point in the season. But no surprise that she wins this event.
And Burkhoff's time there, 53.27, is an NCAA B qualifying standard, which is a 53.94. So that is a great swimming season. I mean, I'd say that's terrific.
And you say in season because right now, obviously, these swimmers are not trying to peak at this time. What is, at this point in the college swim season, there's a lot more going on for these student athletes right now. What are they doing to prepare, obviously, to get ready to peak at the right time?
Yeah, I mean, we have championship season in a month. And a lot of them, the last time they raced was at their invite meet in the middle or the end of November. So everyone in the school right now has had a good month. And most of them have gone to a training camp or they've stayed in a training camp at their home pool. And they've just been grinding it out. So we're seeing a lot of swimmers here that are racing tired. They've done 4 weeks of just training. They've been loving the ground. They've just been, you know, there's been no school. So all they've been doing is swimming. And, you know, I remember when I was racing too, the January swim meets were very revealing of where we are. And it can, in a way, dictate how we're going to go into the championship season because I know coaches that have a tendency to bury their swimmers too much in the training camp, ruins the season for the athletes, and then they never get out of that tiredness. And it's learning that dynamic, and that comes a lot with experience as the coach too. So
there really is certainly a formula that you have to figure out for success, right? Obviously you need to train as much as possible. You want to be tired, but like you said, you don't want to never get out of that.
Yeah.
And ruin the season by just being exhausted the rest of the year.
Yeah. And it's a very fine line too. I mean, I remember racing. We would have some competitors from other universities across the country just swim out of their mind in this meet. And it kind of makes the waters a little scary for you to like, oh, man, he just swam that time and he's supposed to be tired? What's going on?
If he swims this in January, what's he going to look like in a month or two?
Yeah, exactly. And again, at the same time, it's, you know, we're talking about the level of swimmer, the level of coach, but, you know, it's that strategy and that game plan is, who knows? Carolina could be coming to this dual meet, could be fully rested and, you know, or not fully rested, but well rested, swim a great meet here, maybe do some upsets. But guess what? The mentality of the swimmers are then on a high. They're going into the championship season looking really good and really excited.
100 back here. John Healy of NC State in lane 5. Thomas Hamlet is in lane 7 for North Carolina. Chris Thames in lane 4. Alex Mays in lane 6. And Tucker Burhans in lane 8.
One thing I really want to commend the Carolina backstrokers on, both men and women, is they've just been having some great turns today. It must be a real focal point in their training. They've been very tight, and they've been coming out of those breakouts really, really well. So I just want to commend the Carolina backstroke coaching staff and what they're doing.
And it is in lane 8, Tucker Burhans, who wins it, 48.61. And keep in mind, North Carolina did not swim Tyler Hill, who has put together the top time so far this year, but it is Burhans who wins it. And just, well, actually out-touching by about a second, John Healy in lane 5 of NC State. In third place in lane 6, that was Alex Mays of North Carolina. And now we will have, just like on the women's side, we'll have an exhibition. Both teams with one swimmer each. In lane 6, it'll be Wes Barnett of North Carolina, Jacob Johnson in lane 7 for NC State. You mentioned earlier, Christopher, that you feel like the 100 backstroke is the second most difficult event. What makes it so, so difficult? And what made you want to swim that event?
Well, luckily I do the hardest event, the 200 backstroke, which is double the distance. I know, it's just, I would say backstroke is most likely the most unnatural stroke. You know, just the nature of the mechanics of the stroke. But, you know, you're spending a lot of your time underwater holding your breath. And, you know, we in the recent years, everyone's been talking about the fifth stroke, and the fifth stroke being the underwater kick. And it is faster to kick underwater than swimming. I mean, I think a small little history bit here. Catherine Burkhoff, her father swam, and he was one of the guys that's, well, not one of the guys, he was the guy that they made the rule that you can only kick to 15 meters off the start, because there was many events where he would just kick a 50 underwater and, you know, and do very well. So, you know, what makes this event just so hard is you're literally holding your breath the whole time, and you know, you just lock up. You need air, you know, right? If we think about an engine, our body's an engine. You got to get air in to get that engine to go, and no air in that engine, no air for that candle. What happens? It burns out.
Up next, event number 9, the 100 breast. NC State's Andrea Podmanikova has a top 10 time in all of college swimming so far this year, 3rd in the ACC. She has swam this event 59.28. She is in lane 5 for the Wolfpack. So she is a favorite. North Carolina has 2 swimmers that have swam this event in NCAA B time so far. They're Allie Ryder and Lily Higgs. Ryder is in lane 8, Higgs is in lane 6. But neither have swam as fast as Podmanikova so far this year, or Olivia Callaghan, who is in lane 3. So lanes 5 and 3 for NC State, 6 and 8 for North Carolina. They should be the favorites going into this event, the 100-yard breaststroke.
I think breaststroke is just a great stroke because, you know, if we look across the board with all the other strokes, butterfly, freestyle, backstroke, we have pretty much the same technique style, but breaststroke, virtually everyone in the pool has a different type of style, whether it's a long glide or a quick glide, going high out of the water, small kick, big kick. You know, it's pretty great, and I think it's honestly the most beautiful stroke to watch. Personally, I can't do it. It's not beautiful when I swim it, but I try to make it look beautiful.
And every time you come up, you get those shouts from your teammates. That little bit of encouragement coming down the stretch here. What a nice finish. Lane 7. Sophie Hansen of NC State. Andrea Podmanikova in lane 5 finishing 2nd. And in lane 8, Allie Ryder of North Carolina. Or pardon me, in lane 6, Lily Higgs of North Carolina finishing 3rd. So just like Knowles earlier, we saw swimming for NC State. Sophie Hansen hadn't swam this event yet this year. She comes in and has a great swim. 101.84 the time. And in Heat 2, we have Olivia Fisher in lane 5, Victoria Ireland in lane 6 of North Carolina, Maddie Smith of NC State in lane 7. Talked about those shouts of encouragement from the team, and that's one of the great things I think about college swimming is these teams have such great chemistry, and it's very much at times, obviously not in a relay, but most of the time it's a pretty individual sport. But these teams they come together and everybody's locked in and nervous and rooting, cheering on, and obviously normally there's a great fan base as well. Only a few family members let in today, so we don't have quite the same atmosphere, but I think it's really remarkable how these teams really stick together and really root each other on. And I know that you said earlier you felt like that was a big factor and really helping get through this past year.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it makes swimming fun. You know, in club swimming it is really fun too, but you know, it makes it so much easier. I mean, coming from a background where I didn't have a team and I came to the U.S. college system, and here I am. I have 30 other brothers and then 30 other sisters. coming with me in the morning, getting up when it's cold, and unifying. I mean, we think of the college team too. I mean, you have people here that are going to be friends for life, right? And creating those friendships, creating that unity, and in that, if we can find a team, and if you have a coach that can really be a good steward and help develop that good friendship, team culture, and lead by example, I mean, it's all just going to grow on itself. And I think both teams are doing a great job of that.
On the men's side here, we will not have an exhibition following this. The men's 100 breaststroke. North Carolina's Valdez Abeliska, 52.45, B qualifying time. He's already done that this year. He is in lane 8. That is the top time swam by any of these swimmers so far this year. Rafael Cousteau is in lane 7 for NC State.
Seem to be having some difficulties on the timing system. Luckily, we have some experienced technicians. Kevin Happ working it out.
Got to be a little bit tough as you're literally standing there on the block ready to go and all of a sudden have to step off, kind of refocus.
And being told to sit down. I mean, yeah, I think many times that can also make or break people because they are so just emotionally high. They're ready to go. And all of a sudden, they can't get in.
Yeah.
Or you jump in and you have to wait there and your body gets cold. You lose that edginess. You lose that adrenaline. And some people don't quite get up there again. So here again, it's these guys that have been told to sit down. How are they managing this now? How are they managing it mentally? Are they staying warm? I mean, are they putting their hoodies on, their jackets back on? Some of them are. Some are staying warm. Right? Are they distracting themselves? How are they handling it?
So a delay here, and obviously we hope that it isn't too long. Just working on the timing, which to our knowledge through the first, well, this is event number 10, so through the first 9 events, and plus we had the exhibition heats as well, no issues to that point. So hopefully it's something that can be fixed here quickly. And we are back here inside the Willis R. Casey Aquatic Center on campus at NC State. The Wolfpack hosting the Tar Heels. We had about a 5-minute delay or so, some issues with the clock. They believe that they have gotten it fixed now, and so our swimmers are getting ready here. The men's 100 breaststroke. In lane 1, Connell Monahan of NC State. Perry Becker is in lane 2 for North Carolina, as these two schools, as you will always see, alternating lanes here. Marcus Winborg of NC State in lane 3. Kendall Ewing for Carolina in lane 4. Cameron Karkoska is in lane 5. Jacob Rauch in lane 6. Rafael Cousteau in lane 7. And in lane 8, Valdez Abeliska.
Be interesting to see how everyone bounces back now.
Yes.
Having sat for 5 minutes. Who's ready, who's not ready?
Again, Abeliska has already swam an NCAA B time this year, as has Jacob Rauch, who's in lane 6, remember, as has Kendall Ewing in lane 4. So this is a very good event for North Carolina. No Jack Morinets for NC State today. He's the only member of the Wolfpack that has swam to this point in NCAA B time. So this is an event where the Carolina men could have a chance to pick up some points. We haven't seen Rafael Cousteau of NC State yet. Such a talented swimmer, the junior. Keep an eye on him in lane 7. And of course, we came back on the air, Christopher, because it looked like they were ready to swim once again, and seems like we have maybe another delay. See all the officials getting together. Looks like they've got a couple of new power cords over there by the computers, and maybe changing out some cables as well. And so while they continue to work on this, once again, we'll step aside and rejoin you as soon as this dual meet gets back underway. Once again, we welcome you back to the KC Aquatic Center. Getting ready for the 100-yard breaststroke on the men's side. We had the 100-yard breaststroke on the women's side, no problem, and then timing issues struck not once but twice. Went away for about 5 minutes, came back. They thought they had the issue fixed. Unfortunately not. Another delay that has lasted another 5 minutes or so. So it has been quite a while for these student athletes now waiting to get into the pool, and I think that they figured it out. They're just going to go to a hand timer now. So, Christopher, does that really make any difference at all to these student athletes? They're probably just anxious to get this race going at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just very unfortunate timing that the timing system broke during the swim meet. But now that we're moving over to a hand stopwatch, we're not going to have the as increased accuracy. We might have some inflated or deflated times. But, hey, if you're getting an inflated time or a faster time than what you would on the pads, hey, I'm all for it.
You wouldn't complain about that.
Yeah. But if it's other, yeah, then I got a problem with it.
Right. Well, so far through 50 yards, lane 7, Rafael Custo, as expected, along with Valdis Abelitska of North Carolina. They come down the final turn, and this is it. Custo in lane 7, Abelitska in lane 8.
And what a great turn from lane 8. He's surging back home. He's going to get this W. Great finish. And that is North Carolina's first win for the day with the guys' side.
53-9-2. And a nice race there.
And that is a great in-season time. Someone that's racing tired, anything under 4, it's a great time. It's very competitive, so I'm looking forward to see how he does at the championship season.
And keep in mind, the NCAA B-cut time there is 54.27, so yeah, absolutely. Custo finishing in 2nd, and Jacob Rauch finishing in 3rd, 55.86 his time. On to the 200-yard butterfly. I know you said you think 200 backstroke toughest event, but 200 butterfly pretty tough also.
I mean, we have these people are most likely and most often are the most valuable people on the team. If you do not have any swimmers that can, swim this event, you're just giving away points. So having a good 200 butterfly is going to make the biggest world of difference. And as we said earlier, most often the people that are swimming the 200 butterfly are the people that are swimming the mile or the 400 IM. So those people, versatility is the name of the game that you need right now. You need people that can get up and swim as many races as possible and not fade.
Sorry, go ahead, Christopher.
Well, again, there's limited roster spots. You can only
Yes.
take a certain number of people to championship season.
3 North Carolina swimmers going in this one. In lane 4, Caroline Cooper, Ellie Van Note in lane 6, and Addison Smith in lane 8. She has swam the top time out of any of these swimmers in this event so far this year. 1:59.27 earlier at the Dowd Invite. In lane 5 for NC State, Maddie Morello, and in lane 7 is Abby Aarons.
Just one of notable comments is Abby Aarons is actually a breaststroker swimming butterfly. And, although the two are different strokes, they're very similar in the way you swim them in terms of just getting the body rhythm and the waves. And what you'll see a tendency of is most butterflies, or what you'll see is most breaststrokers a few of them can actually swim a really good butterfly. Breaststroke, you often think of them as kind of those one-trick ponies where most breaststrokers can only swim breaststroke and that's it. Whereas if you have any freestylers, butterflies, or backstrokers, they can swim all those three except breaststroke. So breaststroke is a kryptonite, but also, you know, something that boosts you. So, and something to think about too is, you know, some of the events today, we're going to see many people across different events and different strokes, which is a very important thing. And, you know, looking at how people swim, you know, we'll see often backstrokers can put up a pretty good freestyle. You know, or some of the distance swimmers will put up a really respectable 200-meter backstroke. So versatility, how many of these guys can you get, even when you're recruiting them? You know, I don't want a one-trick pony. I don't want a guy that can give me just a 50-meter freestyle and that's him, you know?
Sure.
I want him to do 100. I want him to do a 200. I want him to do the butterfly events too.
So NC State's Abby Aarons in lane 7 winning that event. Ellie Van Note finishing in second for North Carolina, the sophomore, and Addison Smith finishing in third. Aarons breaking 2 minutes there, 1:59.45 in second. A 2:05.99 was Ellie Van Note. Now on to the men's 200 butterfly. And all 8 lanes filled for this one. Curtis Wiltsey of NC State in lane 1. Coleman Manchester, UNC, lane 2. Erge Gesmis in lane 3 for the Pack. Sam Long in lane 4 for the Tar Heels. Noah Bowers in lane 5. Santos Villalon in lane 6. Zach Brown in lane 7. And Boyd Polk in lane 8 for North Carolina. Zach Brown with the top time so far amongst all of these swimmers. Keep an eye on him. He is in lane 7. He's already swam an NCAA B time. 8th best in the country, 2nd in the ACC. 1:42.57 already under his belt. This is another event where the NC State men have the ACC record. Andreas Visayos, ACC record 1:38.57 back in 2019. Visayos, a legend here at NC State. He, like my partner Christopher Reed, is already qualified for the Olympics. He will be swimming for his home country of Greece. It'll be his 3rd Olympics. He'll be swimming for South Africa in your 2nd Olympics. And I just wanted to say congratulations for that. Obviously an incredible achievement and something I know that you're training very hard for and looking forward to.
Thank you. I think we were talking about the butterfly, the 200 butterfly earlier. The 200 butterfly is a good testament of strength and endurance. If you're all strength like me, you're not going to finish it. If you're all endurance, guess what? You're not going to have a fast time.
Okay.
So these guys are often the strong, tough guys.
This is shaping up to be really close. Lane 7 and lane 8. Brown against Polka. Who's going to outtouch? It is Brown in lane 7 who wins it by about half a second. 1:46.12 to 1:46.61. Finishing in 3rd in lane 5. That is Noah Bowers of NC State. So the Wolfpack take the win and 3rd as well.
We were talking about details earlier. Just those small details make the biggest difference. We saw Brown there. Was ahead, but going into the flags, he wanted to make sure that he solidified that win. And he put his head down. And for the last 4 strokes, he put his head down and accelerated into the finish. We pulled away from the Carolina swimmer in lane 8 because he only put his head down for the last 2 strokes. So again, if I'm Carolina and I go back home and I'm going to start looking at these race videos, that's something I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at, okay, where did those state swimmers pull away from us? What did they do that we didn't do that made it, that, you know, lost us the meet or lost us that race?
As you said earlier, swimming all about the little details. How beneficial is that to go back and look at those videos? I should ask you after we introduce this because this is the fastest race of them all. The women's 50 free. It is just out and back, an absolute sprint here. Kylie Alon's in lane 7 of NC State, the favorite in this race. It looks like she has a slight lead. In lane 5, Serena Rowe of NC State having a good swim. It is Alonzo Rowe, 1-2. Grace County in lane 8 for North Carolina, finishing third. 22-6-2 the time for Alonzo. No surprise she wins this race. She's got the 4th best time in the country this year at 21.9 flat. And that was my mistake. I should never ask you a question right before the 50 free. before you answer it, it's over.
Silence in the start, please.
This is Courtney Isley of North Carolina in an exhibition.
The 50 freestyle is the last event before the break. So this is a very important event because we'll see guys, you know, or important if we'll often see people may lose this event that were expected to win. And then the very first event after the break is the 100-meter freestyle. So it's time for redemption. So it'll be very interesting to see here with the guys and the women, okay, who didn't perform the way they should have. What are they going to do now in these next 15 minutes? Are they going to take some rest? Is coach going to come over to them and give them a good mouthful and motivate them?
Yeah.
You know, because it's time for redemption, and it's time the coaches can come back, reevaluate. So we're going to have a team talk, and this can also change. I mean, the meet's not won yet, and you can see a huge change after the break. Momentum, you can lose that momentum. Other team can start the momentum, right?
So a huge race here. No Tyler Hill going today for North Carolina. He's got the top time out of any swimmer for either school at 19.61. Noah Henderson in lane 3 of NC State. Kamani Gregory in lane 1. Daniel Konisberger in lane 2. Tomas Sangaila in lane 4. Hunter Tapp in lane 5. Keep an eye on Jack Messenger of North Carolina in lane 6 with Hill being out. Giovanni Izzo's in lane 7 and Eli Cohn in lane 8. This is going to be a tight one. Looks like between lane 6 and 7. And it is NC State's Giovanni Izzo who wins the sprint in lane 7. Also for NC State, Noah Henderson finishing third in lane 3. It is Messenger in lane 6 who finishes second, so 20.28 in that race. And as you said, that is potentially a big momentum race because it's before that break. NC State taking the win and winning 2 of the top 3 there.
We were talking earlier about a dynasty and just setting up a good program. This is an event that NC State has been traditionally very strong in. I mean, I'm thinking of names of Ryan Held, Justin Reyes. These guys were dominant. They just weren't competitive. They were dominant in their field.
Now you bring up that name, Ryan Held, obviously U.S. Olympic legend. He does have the ACC record in this event, 18.56. So he did that back in 2018. So we've got a 15-minute break here. Obviously, it gives the swimmers a little bit of time to maybe recover after that 50 free, if they're going to swim the 50 and then the 100 as well, and some time to refocus as well. Christopher, your thoughts on what we've seen in the first half or so of this duel?
I think it's been a great competition so far. UNC has really been coming back. I think it's been a better showcase than what they did last time, and I'm looking very forward to this break because now it's UNC's going back. Time to reevaluate. Okay, how are we performing compared to last time? What can we change? What how can we get state and finally beat them? So I'm looking forward. I'm excited. It's been great to watch. It's been a pleasure to be here.
NC State has swept the last 6 of these duels, but Carolina has continued to improve. We'll see if they can make a comeback here on the other side of this break, or will the Wolfpack dominance continue? 100 freestyle coming up in just under 15 minutes when we return. We welcome you back from a 15-minute break, allowing these swimmers to regroup and, depending on their event, perhaps cool down. Back with Christopher Reed. My name is Andrew Sanders. So glad you could join us here this Friday evening for a top 25 matchup between NC State and North Carolina. Both NC State programs in the top 10. The Wolfpack 4th on the women's side, 6th on the men's side. North Carolina, both programs inside the top 20, 18th on the women's side, 20th on the men's side. After this 15-minute intermission, we come back to the 100 freestyle. And swimming this race, for NC State, Ellie Geisler in lane 1, Brianna Romney in lane 2. McKaylee Goldblum, we saw her finish 3rd earlier, in lane 3. Courtney Isley in lane 4. Heather McCausland in lane 5. Gracie County in lane 6. Kylie Alons in lane 7. And Heidi Lowe in lane 8. And it is Alons who won the 50 freestyle through 50 yards. She has the lead in lane 7.
We were talking earlier about redemption. 100-meter freestyle just after the break. Who's going to be swimming better than what they did in the 50 now? Who's more hungry?
And Alons is just so good in this event, and she wins it by a good margin. 1.5 seconds over in lane 6. Grace County with a good swim for North Carolina. 48.94 the time for Kylie Alons. It's an NCAA B time. Also finishing 3rd in lane 5 for NC State, Heather McCausland. And that has been a kind of a common theme, at least what we've seen so far. NC State winning events and usually North Carolina right on their heels, no pun intended, but then Wolfpack also being able to lock up that 3rd spot and earn some more points.
You know, we were talking earlier about dual meets being so different to championship meets, where you can have a team that can have an unbeaten season in dual meets. They can have, you know, an eternity of unbeaten seasons during the off season, but at championship seasons, they don't make top 10. They don't make top 15. And why is that? It's because the way the dual meets are set up, you know, the win point, I think it's 13 points, and then second it drops off to half of that. So if you can have a team that has just some standout swimmers that can just go and win events, that's how you win this meet. But if you have a whole bunch of swimmers that get 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you're not getting close. It's really hard for you to be a competitor to win. So you can have some teams, and you know, we were guilty of this at my college team, is we had some great standout swimmers. We would win events, but our second guy wouldn't be until place, you know, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
Right. You have to have a lot of depth to be good in duels.
Yeah, and then when we go to championship season, you know, we didn't have that depth. So you'll have a team, which I'd say North Carolina or NC State, they have that high talent, they have depth. And that's why they can win that's why they have a dynasty. They've had those standout swimmers, notably like Justin Reyes, Ryan Held, and they have that depth.
Men's freestyle now. Eric Knowles in lane 1. Eli Cohn in lane 2. Luke Miller in 3. Daniel Konisberger in lane 4. Hunter Tapp is in lane 5. Jack Messenger in lane 6. Giovanni Izzo in lane 7. And Tomas Sangaila in lane 8.
We're talking about redemption again. Hunter Tapp just, you know, he had an unsatisfactory 50. And look at him here now. He's just leading the field, just dominating. He's really out to win this and really prove his point that he's doing way better. But look at Giovanni just having a great turn. He just went from 5th place to probably 3rd and 2nd now.
It's Tapp by a half length. Sangaila of North Carolina finishes 2nd, and Luke Miller 3rd for NC State. Izzo in 4th.
Another thing to look at is, you know, at the end of the meet we have a relay, a freestyle relay, and you know, we talk about a dynasty, something that NC State has been traditionally strong in, and that has been the 4x1 free relay. And we just saw NC State go 1, 3, and 4 here.
And that explains it.
So if we're looking at the relay at the end of the day, we have a pretty good idea who's going to win. But there again, who knows what will happen, right? So it's great just to see that NC State is continuing on that great depth and that building on that dynasty that they have.
And now to your Olympic event, the 200 backstroke. So I'm lucky enough to be sitting next to one of the best experts in the world at how to swim this event. What goes into it?
Yeah, the way I'd say it's a little unconventional of doing it. I'd pretty much try and do as low effort I can until the last 75.
Okay.
Because I've always just had a traditionally strong back off. But I have to get better, so I'm changing it. But, you know, again, here, it's backstroke's a totally different event. I mean, you know, we're talking about last year's great team. We had Coleman Stewart, who's just, you know, is literally probably the fastest underwater kicker in the world right now. Me and him were training partners. He would spend hours. I mean, he would spend so much time underwater and be so frustrating. And, you know, we'd be doing the same sets. I'm a way better swimmer, but he's a way better kicker, but with the same speed. And I think here is a great testament. We're seeing a lot of these girls right now just spending time under the water, and they gain, or just catch up. And it's a tough event. As you see, we're going to start looking at the legs. A lot of them are going to start building on the legs. We see Emma Muzzy in lane 7 starting to get that nice big kick. She's starting to get bigger, more powerful kicks, right? But then we have some of the rates, people building on the arms, on the rates of their arm.
As you said, Muzzy in lane 7, Catherine Burkhoff in lane 5, and Sophie Linder of North Carolina in lane 8, right there with them.
Now, I know it's very hard to see on the screen, but Sophie Lind is just doing a very strange, but it's a new phenomenon with the underwater kicking where she turns onto her side and is kicking onto her side.
Yeah.
It's absolutely so fascinating to see it because she has that body dolphin, that fish-like kick. But every time she turns on the side, she just pulled up to Muzzy. Now she's trying to take over and pass Muzzy on that last finish.
Very close at the end there, but Muzzy does out-touch her by about 2.5 tenths. I should say exactly 2.5 tenths. So Muzzy wins it. Lindner in second for North Carolina, and finishing third in lane 5. That was Catherine Burkhoff. So you said you really just conserve as much energy as you can until that last 75. But I guess that makes sense because, you know, you kind of earlier humbly were saying that you are more of a strength swimmer than an endurance swimmer anyways when you're talking about the butterfly. So you just rely on that strength. Just conserve as much energy as possible and then just go as hard as you can the last 75 and just trust your ability to outswim everybody the rest of the way.
Pretty much. I mean, as people kind of say, big boats, big float, right? I can float well, and I just need to keep my engine running until the last bit.
There you go. This is an exhibition here. Faith Hefner in lane 1, Morgan Jones in lane 3, Maddie Flickinger in lane 5, and Danica Huizinga in lane 7 for the 200 backstroke.
And I think one thing to take into note is NC State has just been traditionally a great backstroke program. I mean, I hear the phrase Legion of Backstroke, right?
The Legion of Backstroke.
The Legion of Backstroke. And, you know, that was one of the drawing factors that a lot of people come to NC State because they've just had standout backstrokers through the years. And they're continuing to do it here.
And Coleman Stewart, you mentioned, training partner for you. That owns the ACC record in this event, 137.71.
And other notable people from this program is Hennessy Stewart.
Absolutely.
Hennessy Stewart. Andreas Vazios. I mean, he did butterfly, he did backstroke too. Justin Reyes is one of the best 50 backstrokers in the world. So whatever Braden's doing in backstroke, he knows how to do it.
Well, how has he, obviously you came here to NC State, you're continuing your training for the Olympics. How has he and the rest of the coaching staff helped you grow as you prepare for your second Olympic Games?
I think really it's just helped me understand my backstroke and my swimming more. You know, you spend so many years at one program, you get used to it. You go to a new place, a new dynamic, open experience, makes you think more about your swimming and keeps you interested, right?
Because fresh perspective.
Fresh perspective. And I think at the same time, Coach Gangloff has been bringing that very fresh perspective to UNC because, I mean, we got to give him a lot of credit. Although we're not seeing the results come as fast as what everyone wants to, they're coming, and they're coming really quickly. And I think he's doing something so special, so special that none of us are seeing that. I believe in about a year or 2 or 3, UNC is going to be the team up there in the ACC championship contesting, whether it's guys or girls, because he's coming in. I mean, we're seeing a whole new coaching staff, right? Getting better recruits. As they get the recruits, teams getting better. You're just riding. Sure. So I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Now the 200 backstroke on the men's side. Zachary Cram in lane 1. Tucker Burhans, saw him get a win earlier. He's in lane 2. Kevin Childs of NC State in lane 3. Noah Rutberg in lane 4. Mikey Moore, lane 5. Chris Thames in lane 6. John Healy in lane 7. And Alex Mays in lane 8.
So one thing I want to talk about with backstroke is, and although in this field right here and right now, we have a relatively young field. But as soon as we go to the NC2A championship or the Olympic Games, the World Championships, we're going to notice in a lot of the finals are a lot of older guys. Guys that are generally about 23, 24 and up. And a lot of the guys that are still competing in women are older. Now, why is that? It's because backstroke is actually, as I said earlier, it's so unnatural, but it is, you know, the stroke that requires the most power. And you don't get that power just overnight. It takes years and years and years of crafting and developing that power. So I think we see the times here, and this is a very good heat for the guys. You know, as they get older, they're only going to get better.
NC State, that legion of backstroke, 5 backstrokers have put in NCAA B times so far, and 3 for North Carolina as well. So this might be the best event so far today. I know you're biased, so you're going to say it's the best event regardless, but really we've got the whole pool is filled with guys that have already put up B times.
And that's just standard. And, you know, looking from a coaching perspective, Coach Holloway going into the ACC championships, he's got 5 guys in backstroke. You know, you can take
lane 5, Mikey Moore of NC State wins it. North Carolina finishing 2nd and 3rd. Noah Rutberg and Chris Thames. And that was really a nice swim by Moore, finishing in under 47, 146.99.
But as I was saying, you know, you have teams like NC State that have always been traditionally strong in the backstrokes, in the sprints freestyle events. They can make a whole championship team where they could dominate a whole A final by filling it up with backstrokers. But then what's the flip side of that? They have no one else in the other events, so they're just giving away points.
Yeah.
So they're going to, again, it's, you know, having a very dominant program in one event can be great, but I think it could be to your biggest downfall. Because at the same time, you may leave those some of those backstrokers out, and then your best swimmers that you spend a lot of time recruiting, giving good scholarship money to, spending resources on, he or she can't go to the championship meet. You just left yourself with a bad asset, I guess.
And that's you talk about, you know, needing that kind of depth. That's where Carolina, Coach Gangloff, they feel like they've really grown just in 1 year, is just having a much more well-rounded team. And that makes them so much more competitive. And that's why they're now both programs in the top 20, and NC State both programs inside the top 6.
And it's much to benefit of Coach Gangloff because he's recruited a well-rounded team. And as coaches around the U.S. and the world, and even potential recruits for that program, as they look at Coach Gangloff's program and the people that go in and how they come out as they get worked on there, we're going to start seeing what is Coach Gangloff really good at coaching? What is he good at taking ownership of? And then that's going to be a point of recruiting. People are going to flock to him, whatever event or whatever its stroke is, like it is here for NC State. People flock here because they know if they come here, they're going to become a better sprinter, they're going to become a better backstroker, right? Anything in middle distance, right? We're seeing hopefully a dynasty of Coach Gangloff in the future unfolding.
And as you saw in that graphic just a moment ago, ACC swimming, so competitive. Get the finals here of this exhibition. And in lane 5, that was Jacob Johnson of NC State taking it with a time of 1:49.13. There's so many great programs. Virginia, obviously, saw Louisville, Notre Dame, NC State and North Carolina. We prepare for event 21, the women's 200-yard breaststroke. Andrea Podmanikova has the top time for either school. She's in lane 5. Kat Ward in lane 4, Lily Higgs in lane 6 for North Carolina surround her. In lane 3, it's Julia Poole of NC State, Sophie Hansen of NC State in lane 7. And on the outsides, Olivia Callaghan in lane 1, Lexi Rudolph in lane 2, Allie Ryder is in lane 8.
So now we're looking at we obviously, it's a different event, different distance, 100, 200 meters. What we're going to see now, the 200 breaststroke is all about DPS, distance per stroke. We're going to see them taking half the number of strokes they'd be doing in 100. They're going to be doing a lot longer pullouts because all the 200 breaststroke about is efficiency. How efficient can they be? How little drag they can have and as much glide, right? So we're going to see at the first half of this race, everyone's going to have a lot longer glide, a lot slower tempo, working on getting a lot of water. And now when we're getting into the second half of the race now, as they're about to turn, we're going to see them start picking up that arm tempo. They're going to start, instead of doing 10 strokes a lap, they might start picking up to 12, right? Then they're turning on the gas.
Again in lane 5, Podmanikova. The healthy lead to this point. Sophie Hansen pushing her in lane 7. It's the NC State swimmers out in front so far because Poole is over there in lane 3, currently in 3rd. Podmanikova so far this year, second best time in the ACC, just under 2:07, which is just shy of an NCAA A time.
You know, we're talking about details. Breaststroke is also the event or the stroke that requires the most. As I said, not many people can swim breaststroke because it takes those just technical experts. And what we're seeing here with the three NC State swimmers is their turns are spectacular. They're getting really small, round really quickly, and that's where they're gaining. Every single length, they're taking the speed into the wall and they're going out faster. It's kind of like that tennis ball effect. Is throw the ball in harder, it's going to come out a lot harder, right?
Yeah, makes sense. It was Podmanikova who just outtouched Sophie Hansen by 7/100ths. It looked like Hansen had a good chance to get her, but just that last final glide, Podmanikova outtouches her, and in 3rd, Julia Poole. So a Wolfpack sweep in the women's 200-yard breaststroke. And now 2 NC State swimmers swimming in the exhibition. Anna Shoemate in lane 5, Maddie Smith in lane 7. Keep in mind, because I apologize, I think most people know, but I don't think we've said this yet in relation. The lanes closest to the camera there, that is lane 1, furthest is lane 8. Or from this angle, Lane 1 is to the left, lane 8 is to the right. So the women finishing up the 200 breaststroke with Shoemate and Smith. We'll have the men's and then the 500 freestyle, the 100 butterfly, and then there will be another 15-minute break before we finish with the 200 IM and the 400 freestyle relay. So some exciting events still to come as we get that 500 freestyle coming up next. Again, Andrew Sanders, Christopher Reed joining you. So glad you could tune in. Unfortunately, not as many fans allowed inside the KC Aquatic Center as in typical years, of course. There are a few fans allowed, but those are family members, and obviously just a handful allowed in to be able to socially distance.
And I am just so happy for these college athletes that they can actually have this meet today. It is such a blessing that these two teams can come together here safely and actually come and exercise, and in the name of competition can come here and enjoy today. And you know, because we have a lot of seniors here.
Yes.
You know, we want them to enjoy the senior year. It's something that they can never experience again. And yeah, with the unfortunate events of this year, we want them to have the best. So I'm very thankful. And, you know, I want to commend NC State and North Carolina for allowing the athletes to be here. Not just, you know, looking out for them and their future. So great part from the two universities.
Well said, Creed. Well said. Absolutely agree. Every competition that we get this year kind of feels like like you said, a blessing, a celebration. And it's so important, as you said earlier, these swimmers haven't had competition. The Dowd invite at UNC was December 3rd through 5th, so it's been a while. They've been training obviously extremely hard, but have to get back in that race mode. And this gives them the opportunity to do it, so we are certainly thankful that you could tune in today and spend some time with us on the broadcast, and also so thankful that there could be a duel here today.
And I think this is just a great reminder that in all things that we do with sport, everything is just a great blessing, right? We don't have a right to do it, but it's all a great gift that we've been given. So it's a gift that we're allowed to exercise and enjoy. And that's what it is. It's a gift, and it's a game.
Here in the men's 200-yard breaststroke, Perry Becker is in lane 2 for Carolina. Marcus Winborg in lane 3. Kendall Ewing in lane 4. Cameron Karkaska, the senior for the Wolfpack, in lane 5. Jacob Rauch of North Carolina in lane 6. Rafael Custo in lane 7. And Valdez Avelixta in lane 8. Custo gets off the wall so well. He's got the lead in lane 7.
I think the Carolina swimmer in lane 6 is very dangerous right now. This whole race, he's just been sitting on the NC State swimmer wave right now. Now he's starting to pick up the tempo. He's going to start pulling away.
That's Jacob Rauch in lane 6.
That strategy, picking up the tempo. He's been having these great pullouts. Distance to stroke. He's just come out ahead. This is the last stretch. Here he comes. Can he finish it up with those details?
And it is Rauch who wins it, 158.29. Custo just over a half second behind him. And finishing third in lane 5, that was Cameron Karkaska.
And just what a wonderful opportunity. I mean, we've been seeing North Carolina being very strong in the breaststroke events. Well, look at their coach. What did they coach? The coach Gangloff compete in the Olympics himself. He was a breaststroker. So I think they're already, right? Coach Holloway was a backstroker when he was in college. The guy has a very good understanding. Now we're seeing this great breaststroke program unfold here with North Carolina. Is this the dynasty that Coach Gangloff can establish at this great program?
The Legion of breaststroke.
Breaststroke, oh.
And a handshake from Rauch and Cousteau. They were well ahead of the pack there. Under 159. And now the women's 500-yard freestyle. Maddie Morello in lane 1, Kay Foley in lane 3. Emma Fihiri in lane 4, Yara Hyrath in lane 5. Addison Smith lane 6, Kate Moore lane 7, and Grace Kayal in lane 8. There's a look on the women's side. Virginia edged out NC State last year at the ACC Championships. The Wolfpack ranked 4th in the country, up 3 spots in the latest poll, but just trailing the Cavaliers. That should be a great matchup at ACCs later, the Cavaliers and the Wolfpack. And the swimming and diving top 10. The Wolfpack just behind Georgia.
NC State is just a great representation of representing the ACC and the National League. Just shows the standard of how good NC State is.
And it's obviously the men that have won 6 straight ACC titles, and that gets a lot of the headlines, but it's the women this year with the higher ranking, and it makes sense. They bring back a ton of very qualified swimmers. Bringing back 9 NCAA qualifiers on the women's side from last year. So obviously some new talent as well with the freshmen and some sophomores taking some big steps, but just some very talented swimmers returning NCAA qualifiers, setting the Wolfpack up for making a run at yet another ACC title.
And that is just such a blessing that they didn't lose anyone last year, that they're coming back with such a strong team because they don't have to do a rebuilding year. Just a fun fact, in lane 7 we have Kate Moore. Their family has just been a traditional powerhouse in swimming with alumna Hannah Moore. She was a great miler, notably was a medalist in all the events, and then the youngest brother, Mike Moore, is on the team too. So talk about talent, right?
Yeah.
A family talent. And it just shows you too that, you know, part of the Wolfpack's part of family here. That the family all want to come here, that there isn't a house divided.
Much success, why not tell your brother, you know, tell your sister, hey, come on, this is a great place to be and improve as a swimmer, and you can compete at the highest levels, and it has really worked out for them. And I'm glad that you would bring that fun fact into the broadcast. I'm a big fan of fun facts. So the 500-yard freestyle, obviously half as long as the 1,000 that we saw earlier, and so that changes quite a bit because it's viewed as a little more of a sprint, obviously.
And where it falls right now after this event, we're going to have the freestyle relay shortly following, and again, we can have some great 200 freestylers who can swim up for the 500, but at the end of the meet, they were the tough guys. They're the guys that push through when they're tired. If we're doing a freestyle football on free relay, we need those guys at the end of the meet to finish through. So again, it's another strategy that from both coaches is, okay, are we going to give the points away, or are we going to put our #1 person in and save the rest, our number 2, number 3, number 4, so that we can have a great relay and finish off the meet and maybe steal the meet? Or are we going to try and overload this and hope that NC State is doing the opposite to what we're doing?
A lot of strategy involved. Final lengths here in the 500-yard freestyle on the women's side. Kate Moore leading the way. Not far behind Yara Hyrath. Just a freshman with a lot of promise for NC State. She is in lane 5 for North Carolina. Addison Smith coming down the final stretch as well. And in lane 3, Kay Foley of NC State. A Wolfpack sweep in the 500-yard freestyle.
You know, when you have programs that have such strong sweeps, one tends to imagine what would happen if we had a 4x500 meter freestyle relay. How dominant would that be? Or 4x200 breaststroke, right?
Yeah. Well, you see there, all 4 NC State swimmers finishing inside the top 5. The men will have this heat, the first heat, the competitive heat, and then the exhibition heat following. Gil Kiesler is in lane 1 for NC State. He's joined by teammate James Plague in lane 3, Eric Knowles in lane 5, and Ross Dan in lane 7. The Tar Heels in this race, Samuel Player in lane 2, Thomas Bretzman in 4, Demetrios Demetriou in lane 6, and Patrick Hussey in lane 8.
Now the great, in the name of teamwork, when we see at these longer events, there's a lot of strategy that comes into it too. I've seen at many championships. Now we can't see it today because we're alternating lanes with NC State and Carolina, but sometimes it's a strategy, and in the prelim swim, swimming a certain time and knowing what lane you can get into to get next to your teammate, to where you guys can have a kind of a Talladega Nights shake and bake, where you can feed off each other.
Yeah.
You know, have one person go out really fast and have that other person just waiting on that wave. And
then you slingshot.
Yeah, you slingshot, right? And I think that's another attribute to think about. I think Ross Dance and Eric Knowles, last year, 2 of them had a brilliant season together. Kind of like the Talladega Night duo.
Yeah. Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby, right.
And Cal.
Cal, yeah.
The Magic Man. I got to hand it to you, Christopher. I was not expecting a Talladega Nights reference in the broadcast, but
hey, man,
I respect it.
I went to Alabama, let me tell you.
If you're not first, you're last, right? Ross Dant has the top time for NC State this year. 4 swimmers with a B time. Dant, Knowles, Plague, and Kiesler all are in this race. Demetriou has the best time for North Carolina, 4:17.73. That's a B time. Hussey has done the same, 4:22. Keep in mind, a B time is 4:23.3, and A time 4:11.82. Dant with the top time, in fact, in the ACC. This is an event, once again, Anton Ibsen, ACC record, just over 4:09 back in 2018.
Now we're past over halfway. Now we're starting to see some people make some moves. We're seeing there in lane 6. He's starting to build his kick, accelerating that rate. Man, he's starting to make some moves. He's starting to look really good.
Knowles in lane 5 and Demetriou in lane 6. Dant in lane 7, the top 3 right now.
This is going to be a great finish. I just love seeing these three guys kind of coming in together. Looks like the two NC State swimmers are pulling ahead. Just again, both of them are feeding off each other. It must be so great getting into training and having two guys like that just training with you, being ahead of you. If you're one of the freshmen and you have these seniors, the senior and the sophomore ahead of you, man, that's motivation.
Yeah. Competition just makes everyone better. And that's really regardless of sport. Really, if you have, especially teammates, somebody there to push you, it just makes you that much better. And I mean, that's one of the reasons you've been training with Coleman Stewart of NC State, right?
Yeah, and I mean, accountability, right? Accountability is something that we got to think about. Is not only do we can surround ourselves with great people, but if we allow those people to influence, because we can come into a great program and just have a very hard head and not want to listen or want to grow. And I think an attribute that all swimmers should be thinking of, and even if you're at home and you're an age group swimmer, one thing you need to be thinking of is coachability. You need to be able to be coachable, but you need to listen, and the ability is you want to learn.
An NC State sweep. Dant in first, Knowles in second, and Plage in third, just out touching Demetriou.
Such a grueling event, this, because it is long. It is a sprint as well. Man, look at them. They're just exhausted. Good effort, guys.
Yeah, going that hard for 4.5 minutes.
Let me just say, rather them than me.
Again, this is the exhibition. Still in the 500 free. Owen Lloyd in lane 3. Chris Thames in lane 4. Curtis Wiltsey in lane 5. Daniel Chance lane 6. And Ike Atkinson lane 7. After this exhibition, it'll be the 100 fly, and then another 15-minute break before the final 2 events. Something I haven't gotten to pick your brain about yet is NC State traveling to Durham tomorrow to challenge the Blue Devils. How does that affect you swimming in duels back-to-back days like that?
I think it's definitely a strategic thing. You know, championships season's coming up. As I mentioned earlier, everyone in this pool tonight hasn't raced for a good long time, at least a month, 4 weeks. So again, we're talking about small details. You know, we can be training, we could be overlooking some minor details. What I preach to everyone that comes in my path is you are who you practice who you are.
Okay.
And we could be in training and we could be practicing something that, in the smallest of details, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But when we, what we do in practice is what we're going to do in a race. So when we're coming to the, and we're noticing that we're getting absolutely left behind on our starts, on our turns, on our breakouts, or even the swimming, we can go back, reevaluate. And I think getting as many dual meets in the beginning of the year, in January and February, or even in, we can't do it in December right now, but it gets everyone familiar with racing. It gets us tough. It sees what we absolutely need to work on. And it's developing that warrior mentality. If I can get up when I'm dead tired, when I'm exhausted, and put up times like I've been putting up today, that's giving me a lot of motivation and a lot of confidence moving into the championship season. Because we can today, both teams can walk away with 2 options. We can either walk away motivated or crushed by how we did today. Either team, and whatever the outcome of today and tomorrow is what's going to set the posture for the championship meet.
Not that far away. ACC Championships held February 17th through 21st. NCAA Championships March 17th through 20th. So both of these programs, only one duel under their belt against one another. Obviously, these programs very familiar with one another throughout the years, an intense rivalry regardless of sport, but familiar with each other already this year because they went head-to-head early November in a duel, and then at the UNC Dowd Invite in the beginning of December, an event that the NC State men and women won, Carolina finishing in second. And you talk about the proximity here in the Triangle, and these two programs so close together in a year where you might not want to travel as much. You can keep it close to home and still get some very good top 20 competition. It really benefits both programs. And now these programs head down the stretch in ACC competition. Again, NC State has Duke tomorrow in Durham, 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. for that. And then a couple of home duels. Virginia on January 23rd, Virginia Tech on January 30th, and then that's it. It's time for the ACC Championship just about 3.5 weeks later.
You know, we're talking about the proximity of the two teams. I think a comment that we've got to make is, and to those of you guys that are not familiar with NC State and UNC, is that these two teams are fierce competitors. You know, there's 30 minutes separating the two. I mean, we're walking into NC State's pool and we see a banner with North Carolina and NC State saying, "This is our state," right?
Absolutely.
So,
and you understand intense rivalries. You said earlier you went to Bama. You're not a big fan of Auburn.
No, because we're better.
That is how the rivalries go. Winning the exhibition in lane 6, Daniel Chance. Curtis Wiltsey finishing second, Ike Atkinson finishing third. And so we go from 500-yard freestyle to a quicker race, the 100 fly.
And this is just pure power. This race is power, 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 and who can be the most powerful for long as possible.
Parker Temkin in lane 1 of NC State, Serena Rowe in lane 3, Abby Aarons in lane 5, Kylie Alonz in lane 7. For the Tar Heels, Victoria Ireland in lane 2, Caroline Coopers in 4, Emma Cole in 6, and Ellie Van Noot in lane 8.
We were talking earlier about how the backstroke events, a lot of the swimmers are utilizing the underwater works. Well, the butterfly events for the 50 and 100, swimmers will often abuse the underwater works and just kicking underwater because it's a short sprint. We're already in the underwater body dolphin, so what's stopping us from using our arms and continuing that rhythm?
You see Alonz here underwater for a long time. She breaks the plane of the water now. Coming down the stretch, this is going to be a dominant win for Alonz. Touching in second, Abby Aarons, and in third for North Carolina, Ellie Van Noot. So how about Alonz and Aarons? We talk about the power.
It's a powerful finish and a powerful duo.
52.66 for Alonz. No surprise she wins this race. She set the school record earlier this year with a 51.52. Fifth best time in the country this year. So just above that, but 52.66. As you said, at this point in the year, when you're tired, when you've been training so hard, a really nice time to go under 53.
One thing to think about too is we're at the end of the meet now. For many of these swimmers, this is their third event. They're tired. You know, not just tired from training, but this is their third event. They got to step up again and do it again, right? So now it's coming to a testament of the type of training. How fit are these guys?
Yeah, sure. Coleman Manchester in lane 2, Zach Brown in 3, Sam Long in 4, Noah Henderson in 5, Santos Villalon in lane 6, Luke Soboleski in lane 7, and Boyd Polk in lane 8. Soboleski has the second best time in the ACC this year, 46.07. Polk's not far behind him this year, and he looks like he might win this one. It's going to come down to the end. In lane 8, it is Polk, 47.38 as he out-touches Soboleski. And Carolina also taking the third spot in lane 6. That's Santos Villalon.
We talked about earlier just the strategy in the pool as well, and we see Boyd, he was in the deepest lane, and he was pushing off deep. He was getting deep, getting those big body dolphins, right? And that was to his advantage. That's what contributed to him to winning that race.
.100 fly, a fun race. NC State taking it on the women's side, Carolina taking it on the men's side. And we've got one more 15-minute break, but don't go anywhere. We'll close things out with the 200 IM 400 free relay on the other side. Back in 15 minutes. Back here in the city of Oaks, my name is Andrew Sanders, joined by Christopher Reed. Glad to have you with us for the final two events. The 200 IM on the women's side, and then we'll have the men's, obviously, and we'll finish with the 400 free relay. So the 200 IM, obviously it is, you talked about versatility earlier and how important that is to a program, and this event showcases the athletes that have that great versatility.
I know, and then this event is just so hard. I mean, I was talking about earlier, like the 1500 is one of my favorite races just because of the change in strategies. 200 IM is. I mean, you'll find most good 200 IMers are really good breaststrokers because that is the most important leg because no one can swim a breaststroke except the breaststroker.
It is a specialty. Second leg, the backstroke. Olivia Fisher's in lane 1, Kat Ward in lane 2, Heather McCausland in lane 3, Lily Higgs lane 4, Emma Muzzy in lane 5, Amy Draglin in lane 6, Abby Aarons in lane 7, and Ellie Van Noot in lane 8. And as you said earlier, as we come down the stretch here in this duel, for a lot of these athletes, it's their third event, and as I listed off those names, I mean, those are names that we've been hearing winning events all night long.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing here now is what is my strength and how am I going to use my strength? Am I a backstroker, and am I going to abuse the fact that I'm a really good backstroker and go really hard on it and try to get a lead? Or am I going to try and rest and recover in it to set me up for a better breaststroke? Right, we're seeing here in lane 7 with Aarons, who's just a great breaststroker by herself, and she's now extended that lead on the breaststroke.
See just how far out in front she is. By a length over Heather McCausland in lane 3, her teammate. And it looks like Aarons is going to win this one.
Oh, she's beginning to fade, though. She's in so much pain.
McCausland finishing in second and touching for third in lane 5. Emma Muzzy makes it a Wolfpack sweep. .201.3 the time. And now an exhibition featuring Katie Lewicki in lane 5. And Maddie Flickinger in lane 7. North Carolina initially on the heat sheet was going to send a couple of swimmers in this exhibition, but they called an audible and decided not to. So it's just the NC State swimmers in this one.
Now the question is are some of these people that are in the 200 IM getting ready to swim the 4x or the freestyle relay? Because that's certainly not out the question. Is how bad does the team need them? How quick can they bounce back? For some of the girls, they're going to have a good 5-minute break. Can they bounce around and put up a good swim in the next 5 minutes or not? Let me tell you, I had to do that a few times in college. You know, do a 200 IM, 400 IM, and then 5 minutes later, I'm on the block again.
That sounds painful.
It was not great. But it's in the name, all in the name of for the team, and you know, not swimming for myself.
Right.
And I think for a lot of these athletes here, they're not swimming for themselves; they're swimming for their team. And what a better place to explore your teamwork and your camaraderie than in college swimming.
2:05.55 for Flickinger. Lewicki in 2:11 flat. The men's 200 IM. They will also have an exhibition following this. Connell Monahan in lane 1. Wes Barnett is in lane 2. Erge Gesmus in lane 3. Jacob Roush, lane 4. Noah Bowers, lane 5. Alex Mays, lane 6. Mikey Moore, lane 7. And Noah Rutberg is in lane 8. Luke Miller has the top time for either of these programs and the 5th best time in the ACC, but he's not swimming in this one. So keep an eye on Mikey Moore in lane 7 and North Carolina's Alex Mays in lane 6, and also Jacob Roush. We saw him earlier with a great swim to beat out Cousteau. Roush is in lane 4.
Now, one thing to be thinking about too is if this was a close one or not. What you'll see often is a lot of college coaches is they'll sub out and change up the order of the 200 IM or the last IM event, and may take out people and just put in one of your teammates. And you who may be a 50 freestyler, but because the coach needs a body to fill that spot, you may have to step up and swim the 200 meter IM or whatever event. So again, there's been countless stories that I know of and even seen on my teams where guys are sitting, not in their suit, they all dry, next thing coach comes up to them, you have 2 minutes until you're on the block. Again, coach is needing you, but it's also, the coach can be looking, how's he going to respond? Is he going to step up when I need him? Or are they going to just fall down?
It's going to be a good finish here. It's the NC State swimmers. Lane 5, Noah Bowers takes it first place, but it's another Wolfpack sweep in lane 7. Mikey Moore finishing second, and Gesmus finishing third. It's a true sweep because in lane 1, Connell Monahan finished in fourth. That's just a dominant performance from the pack there, and I think really putting an exclamation point on this performance here today.
Now my question again, how about a 4x200 medley relay?
I'd love to watch it. An exhibition here for the men. See Perry Becker in lane 4, Samuel Player lane 6, Zachary Cram lane 7, Sam Long in lane 8. We've seen quite a few exhibitions, and as you said, it's an opportunity for the coach, obviously, to see maybe someone in a different role, figure out who they're going to bring for postseason or set up for next year, maybe some ideas moving along. In this year with coronavirus, every coach I talk to, it seems like in every sport, they're all concerned about depth because you never know when you might have an athlete out for a couple of weeks or due to contact tracing or for having the virus. Do you think we're seeing some more exhibitions too, just again to build that depth for both teams?
I mean, yeah, potentially, and you know, some of these swimmers may have been as a result of contact tracing or being out, and you know, don't want to discredit them and say, hey, you're not in the meet, but we're still going to give you a chance, benefit of the doubt. But again,
and because you know you're just swimming fewer events than you would in a normal year.
Yeah, and again, it's bringing the opportunity, giving the opportunity, because right now finding a competition is something that is really scarce nowadays. So getting that opportunity and enjoying it.
400-yard freestyle relay. This is going to be fun. NC State will be in lane 6, North Carolina in lane 4 and lane 8, and then there will be an exhibition, a second NC State team in lane 6. But it doesn't really matter which lane because that'll be, again, the exhibition. So keep in mind, the Wolfpack in the middle here in lane 6, Carolina on the outside. Always exciting to start with the relay and exciting to finish with one as well.
The beautiful thing about relays, particularly when we go to the NC2A Championship, is you will have some teams that may not have the depth that they need in the other events, but they can really put together a really solid team in the relay events. I mean, we're thinking of a 4x1 free relay. If you have 4 solid swimmers that can be consistent the whole year, that's going to help you get some good points. I mean, there are countless teams that would get into the top 10 at the NC2A Championships just because they had a relay team that could get into the A final every time. But why is the relay so important? Well, it's double points. You get double points in relays. So again, we could have a great team that just has standout individuals, but
standout individuals, as we know, doesn't win you championships, doesn't win you meets. You need depth. So, again, it's a great testament to a program that can actually solidly and consistently have good relay swimming, and they put an emphasis on that because I think many coaches don't put that into perspective of they look at relays as a waste of time, or they could put their energy to something else. But one point of view is that's winning you meets, but two, that's for recruiting too. If I'm a recruit and I'm going to a top-tier university and I really want to get on to go to the ACC championships or the Pac-12 or the SEC championships, and I'm not the second best person on the team, first or second best person, guess what? I can be the third or best person in a relay event, the freestyle events, and get to go and just have just as much as an impact and even do better for the team in that role than what I would in my strongest event maybe.
NC State has not swam this event so far this year. Carolina's best time, a B cut for Lindner, County, Lowe, and Romney. Just over 3:16. Heels with a nice lead in lane 8. As we get the final 50 yards.
Now, what I want everyone to be aware of is we don't really see it now in the exhibition of heat, but when we move into the next heat where we have all players, I want you guys to take a look at the wave. Look at the wave. Everyone is going full speed all together at the same time. One thing that everyone needs to take in account for relays is the wave factor, right? Are we going to stack the relay at the beginning? Are we going to get our fastest swimmers out in front so that we're out in front ahead of the wave? Or do we try and stay in the middle and put our fastest swimmer at the end? Because I can tell you from experience, if you're diving in 5th and you have a team that is out way ahead of you, you get stuck in that wave. And let me tell you, it doesn't look like a big difference, but it makes a huge difference if you're getting kind of bullied by that person's wave. So there's a lot of strategy in these relays too, and just how you put them on, because everyone would think that you're going to put the fastest first and the slowest last, or switching that, right? There's lots and lots of strategy in this relay now.
It looks like NC State deciding not to go with the exhibition here that's on the heat sheet. So we're just going to move to the men's 400 free relay. And once again, NC State with just one relay team in lane 6, 2 for North Carolina, lanes 4 and 8. I'll take that back. NC State does have a second team. Not on the original heat sheet in lane 2.
Again, we're having some technical difficulties.
On the very final event, we had this issue earlier, created about a 15-20 minute delay. Went to a hand timer earlier. And thankfully they're not nearly as long of a delay. And here goes the 400 free relay. Final event of the night. When you're in the water, obviously you're always swimming for your team in a duel, but especially you're swimming for almost a smaller team, your relay team. Do you put any extra pressure on yourself to kind of carry carry your weight there, or is some of the pressure taken off of you because you only have to do one leg of it? How did you approach swimming in a relay, and how do you feel as being part of that foursome?
I would say it was both. It was firstly just so exciting that you're out there with your teammates. Just you have that camaraderie, that kiss, that you're ready to go. But two, you don't want to be that guy on the relay that, let's say, for instance, you false start, that you're the person that got that team disqualified, or same time you just had you bombed. You didn't have a good race at all, and I think at the same time there's a lot of intimidation with that, but it ensures accountability for the team, because I bet you for both teams, guys and girls, both sides, there's a list of people. There's a pecking order. There are people wanting and craving to get onto that relay team. There's people probably that don't even want to swim an individual event at the championships because they are so focused on getting that relay spot. Because think about it like this: if you got 3 other studs in your events and they could win an ACC or an NC2A championship, and you can't even make a final in your individual event, of course I'm going to train for the relay, right? If I could be a national champion or ACC champion.
Right. The Wolfpack in lane 6. Got a second lead. Over the heels in lane 8. Right now in 3rd. North Carolina in lane 4. Wolfpack pleased with that finish to take the men's 400 free relay. North Carolina finishing 2nd and 3rd. I think with the timing, once again, we saw that in the women's race as well, all the time showing up on the Carolina side, which was not the case earlier, but there is an exhibition listed, but because NC State was not planning on putting 2 teams in, I'm not sure if we will see an exhibition or not. But that is at least the end of the competition here for this duel. What are your general takeaways from what we saw over the course of this evening, Christopher?
I think this was a great performance by both sides. I think definitely NC State did step up their game this time. I think I think maybe last time they were a little complacent. Maybe they needed a wake-up call, and that's what they took as their fuel during this training camp. But I think NC State definitely way better performance. I'd say with Carolina, there's a lot more consistency. They weren't so all across the board with everything. They were kind of level in all their events, which was really good for this side of the program. So, yeah.
Unofficial results: the NC State women win it 188 to 109. Unofficial results: the NC State men winning as well. So, with the competition coming to a close, that'll do it for our broadcast here inside the Casey Aquatic Center. For our fantastic crew, my partner Christopher Reed, it was a pleasure. My name is Andrew Sanders saying good night from Raleigh, NC State over North Carolina here at the Casey Aquatic Center.